Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. This is Julie Bruns, and you are about to be inspired. I am so excited to share my conversations with amazing people from all walks of life who figured out how to be happy, peaceful, and content doing work they love and making the world a better place so that you can see what's possible for your life. I can't wait to hear what you think. Send me an email and let me know one thing you're taking away from this episode. And never forget, anything really is possible. All right, welcome everyone. My guest this week is Syda Segovia Taylor. And Syda and I met briefly at a conference I was at back like a month or two ago. It was a really cool conference. I heard about it through my work, and I attended just because I was really interested in the topic and everything that was going on there that day. And I remember you came up and were introducing, I think, one of the speakers, and I loved your energy, and I could tell that you really love what you do. And even before you said that you love what you do, I could tell, which is what my podcast is all about, talking to people who love what they do so that other people can see what's possible. So thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, for you to capture all these stories and, just share with everyone. So it's wonderful to be here. Thanks.
It's awesome work. Yes, I love it. So tell everyone, so I know you have Organic Oneness, and I know that I kind of know about that organization. So tell everyone what you do and your journey here. So kind of like the brief version of, I'm sure you didn't just land here accidentally.
Right. Yeah, no, thanks. So Organic Oneness is a grassroots social justice organization that co-creates with communities foregrounding Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And we focus on racial and environmental justice and wellness and healing. So those are the main topics that we try to bring together with groups of folks that are, doing the work already. So
I love that wellness and healing is part of it too. So I'm big on justice, and obviously social justice is so important. But the fact that you're combining it with wellness and healing instead of just saying like what's right, but like all of the other things that go along with it, so that people can heal and be well no matter where they are, right?
Yeah. And that's really what we're trying to do as a global society right now, right? Like we're trying to heal from the injuries of the past. And that comes at the individual level, the community level, institutional and policy levels. Like we're trying to repair what has happened with the legacy of slavery, oppression, colonization, all of that, and how it impacts people of color. And so there's a healing that needs to happen. There hasn't been one moment where we're like, okay, everybody, now we're gonna just repair. And everyone's kind of been pushing for this. And so just growing up in my family, seeing the differences between different communities. It called me. I didn't even know that this was a profession.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Yeah. So what did you study in school, or how did you even come to start this organization?
Yeah, so I wanted to be a dancer.
Oh my gosh.
That's where my heart was. And my parents, both new to this country. My mom came from Colombia, my dad from Honduras. They didn't know the systems very well here, and but they were very driven, like, this is America, we're gonna, you can do anything here. And as I was growing up in the systems, I'm like, you can't, like, they couldn't, and it's too hard for them, and people are against them. And so I was seeing a different lens. And from being a Baha'i, my parents always taught me, love and unity, and together, whoever doesn't have a friend, go be their friend. Whoever's different in the classroom, go be their friend. So there was always this consciousness and intentionality of, whoever needs to talk, or whoever needs to any kind of help, or just doesn't really fit in, that's the person you should focus your efforts on, because everybody else is, taken care of. They have friends so from a very young age, my lens has always been who's kind of the outcast and who's having trouble, and how can I be of assistance and of service? Um, and then just as I grew older, it was like, oh my gosh, like the Black community and the indigenous community and the people of color, like the systems are really against helping, or just even being fair or equitable
Elevating.
or
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
so I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is not good, so then whatever I was doing just became more complex.
Mhm.
So yeah, I wanted to be a dancer. My dad was like, that's not why I came to this country. You can be a lawyer, you can be this, you could be that, and so I said, well, a teacher is a good profession. I could teach dance if I
Yeah.
go into teaching physical education and health. And, my mother
Yeah.
was a nurse, or is still a nurse. And, and so health was always interesting to me. So I studied that at UIC, University of Illinois in Chicago. I got my bachelor's in kinesiology, so the study of human movement, and with the emphasis on community health and fitness. And so that with that degree, I was able to teach for a little while. But I had a very young daughter, and family at that same time. And it was exhausting teaching 200 middle school students and elementary school students, and then coming home to my baby.
Yeah.
And so my mentor, who was also my dance teacher in high school, Ife McWhorter, she was like, well, if you like being around kids, maybe the park district or doing administrative stuff. And so then she helped me get into that line. From there, I went to After School Matters and learned about community-based organizations. Then from there, I learned about wraparound services with the Elevate initiative and understanding middle school, working with cross sector of communities, so working with different institutions. So that's where I really took a deep dive into like policy and advocating for things, mobilizing communities, the parents, the students, having wraparound services. And that's where I really fell in love with community and understood how it connected. But I was always tripping and falling over things like, oh, I should have done it this way. And oh, had I known. And that's when I went back to school to get my master's in community development and social justice.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that put all the pieces together, and then you're like, okay, I can do this. So then you created this organization. You were doing it for other people, and then you created this organization.
Yeah. So I was, still working for nonprofits. I worked for the Chicago Public Schools as the family and community engagement manager. So, I was just kind of deepening the learning and still like, how can I help? What's happening with the parents? What's happening with the youth? So it's
Yeah.
always with this level of service. That again, the Baha'i faith is like, we're here in the service of humanity. That is our purpose on earth, is to help an ever advancing civilization. And how do we do that? And so yeah, the side projects that I used to do, whether it was a fundraiser or whatever the needs were, got really complex when I partnered with the Bronzeville Community Action Council. And I had been a part of that for a while. And they were looking at the violence and really capturing all the data with the Centers for Youth Violence and Prevention. So there was a lot of stuff happening. And so that's where I was like, oh my gosh, I know somebody who is phenomenal, top of the line, like has been doing this work forever. And that was Dr. Joy DeGruy, who you saw at the conference.
Okay.
And so we know each other through our faith. So she's also Baha'i. And she's just been doing this work forever and looking at things that people don't necessarily look at and just shining a light on this truth. And so that turned into a day-long conference, which turned into a year-long initiative. Then there was this ripple effect, and all these funders that I would go to, they're like, so where do you want us to take the money? Like, where are we sending it? And I'm like, well, send it over there, and then they could pay for lunch. And then if you send this over here, then they can pay for the center. And they were like, you need to start your own nonprofit. Like, what?
Yeah.
what is all of this? And so it was Steve Sarowitz, a good friend of mine, that he was like, Syda, focus your energy, start your own nonprofit, and and we'll assist however we can. And so he was a philanthropist, humanitarian, and also Baha'i.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, and so that's how Organic Oneness was created. And then everybody that I was doing this work with became my board members. And
Perfect. It
so
all came together.
it all came together. It all came together. And so that's where we are now. We're in our third year. And through the pandemic, we expanded to Minneapolis because of the killing of George Floyd. So one of my board members lives in that area, and she said, they could really utilize the learnings that Organic Oneness has from Chicago over here. We ended up having a food pantry there to help with, just repairing and restoring the community from what happened.
Yeah.
So we opened in Minneapolis, and then we were asked to go to University of Illinois in Champaign to help with anti-Semitism and hate that's on campus there. And so we started a registered student organization, and just we're trying. We're
Yeah.
trying. All I can
You're
say is that
trying.
we're
Yeah.
trying.
There's, there's, there's obviously a lot of work to do, and all you can
There's
do
a
is
lot
try.
of work to do.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. You start an organization, then it's like, okay, there's need everywhere. So there's no lack of your needing what you offer. It's
Right.
just a matter of getting it and getting all the people involved. And
Yeah.
good. Well, good for you for doing something about it instead of just saying like we have all these problems and going to. I mean, even when you were doing the work before you had the organization, you're still involved in trying to solve problems and heal and help people be
Right.
well. But then just saying, okay, like this is going to expedite and help with your mission. So I mean, kudos to you for being part of the solution instead of just complaining. Because I talk to people on here that everyone I talk to is usually part of the solution. That's why they're probably on the podcast and loving what they do. But you talk to people that are just complaining, like we have a problem. It's like, let's talk about how we can solve it. And we can't never come to the solution with the same mindset that created the problem, or like being mad about the problem or whatever it is. It's like you have to put on a different hat in order to solve it and get with other people. So you're a big example of that. So you're doing great work. So obviously, so you go to school, you have an undergrad, you get a graduate degree, you start this organization, you're doing all this other work in the Chicago community in between. Like what helped you? It sounds like your parents are a great resource for you and supportive. Like what helped you along the way, like remain happy and peaceful and content and strong and positive? Because I'm sure a lot of the work you're doing can be taxing.
Oh my God, so taxing. And that's why healing and wellness is a part of this, because I'm a breast cancer survivor. And I was diagnosed when I was 32. And I went through all of it. I went through a mastectomy. I went through radiation, chemotherapy, the whole bunch of reconstructive surgery, and then years on tamoxifen. And so through that entire journey, you're asking, how did this happen to me? And how do I not make it happen again? And I don't want this to happen to anybody else that I love. And so how can I use this experience to help other people not be in this space? Because it's awful. It's an awful experience. But I do have to say that I learned a lot, and it really appreciate life. And I feel like, okay, I understood the interconnectedness of the earth and people, and so that's where I really took a deep dive into health and nutrition. And so all those learnings, plus my undergrad, I'm just like, okay, if you're in this space of social justice, like we are doers. We're constantly doing things for other people. And then we forget about ourselves. So we're not sleeping, we're not drinking water, just the basics to keep our body going. We're not doing it because we're so focused on everybody else. And it's not just social justice activists, but it's caregivers.
Yes.
It's people that are always like thinking of other people, not realizing that we're burning ourselves thin. And that's why compassion fatigue and burnout are huge elements right now that we're trying to understand. It's because everybody is just depleting themselves to the
Yes.
point where they're getting sick, they're getting ill. And then what? Now you can't serve. Now you can't help anybody else.
Yeah.
And so that's why this is a huge component of the organization, because we have to care for ourselves mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. We have to care for our relationships, so it's not just about ourselves, but if we're in a partnership or marriage or we have children, how are we maintaining the health of that relationship? And then that spills over into the community. So if you have a healthy individual, healthy family unit, now you have more healthy components in a community. When you have that, you have a healthier
Of
city.
course.
So it just kind of spills over, but that starts with our own individual habits and understanding and mindset.
Yeah.
And so that I forgot what your question
So
was.
you're telling me all the things you're concentrating on so that you can remain happy, peaceful, and content along the journey,
Right,
which is something women, I know specifically women, because I am one and I have related to a lot and I have a lot of friends.
right.
But I talk to women mostly on this podcast. I talk to men too, but we really are the ones who put ourselves at the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
Men just weren't trained that way
Yeah.
growing up.
And a lot of women don't even put their names on the list.
Oh, yeah.
I'll do an
Yeah.
exercise. Okay, put all the things that you're responsible for in a day. And then
Yeah.
put all that day. They're nowhere on the list.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
And instead of just, but if you don't feed your soul and feed and that wellness and that health and that great mindset, like you said, then you don't have anything left to give, or you're resenting the people you're giving it to. Your family ends up being last on the list because you just feel so called to do all these other things. And I've seen it a lot in my life. And I'm like you, where I put it, these practices, it's habits. And I've been putting practices into place for several years now. And it does make a huge difference. And people feel that energy, and people know that you're giving from a place of, I have a lot to give, instead of just like, I'm depleted. I'm burnt out, but I still want to help. So I'm just going to do it. And then I'm going to go home and collapse on the thing. And then, like you said, get cancer one day, or be super sick and I'm in bed for 3 weeks or whatever. It's like, that's not an accident. And usually you heard there's little whispers and you ignore them along the way.
Yeah,
and then the big thing happens to like really wake you up and say, okay, are you going to continue this way or not? It's like, and no one else can do that for you except for yourself. Like people can help you and people can remind you, but you're the one who has to actually do the work or the non-work or the being or what, all the healthy stuff. And it takes practice and it takes intention.
It does take practice because our society doesn't, it's not set up for that. Yeah. It's set up for deplete yourself, sacrifice, like all these things. And so that's why I call our thing in organic oneness is called Fortress of Wellness. So when you think of a fortress around a castle, it is intentional. You cannot get in. So how are we building this fortress of wellness for ourselves, where we're in this, safe space, rejuvenating ourselves, gaining strength, attaining joy, so like, what does that look like? So I have different modules, teaching about water, the importance of water, why you have to drink it, and so it's reminding a lot of people, but then also retraining our habits. Yeah.
I think too, women are so, I'm married to a man who's very intuitive, but women especially have, like, we're very intuitive, and we sometimes shut it up because we don't think, we can't, we don't, whatever. We have lots of
we think we can keep going, which is
but and you feel other people's energy, and then that gets into you, and then you manifests in a different way, and it comes out another way. But I don't know if you ever or do tapping or talk about tapping at all, but I just thought of it because I heard
sometimes you'll see me in meetings like this where I'm just like, I'm constantly,
I discovered it like a year ago. I've heard about it over the years, but I actually started doing it about a year ago. But I just heard this thing the other day. I was listening to a podcast, and she was saying, well, like, when you feel that, like, you could easily be depleted, or someone's energy is kind of like the energy vampires, it's like depleting you, that you can just kind of picture yourself like when you zip up your pants, but you're taking the zipper and you're going all the way up, and you're like protecting yourself.
I love that.
And all you have to do is, like, you don't have to close your eyes to do it. You could just do it with your hand, or you could just do it with your mind. And
Right.
you're just like you put like it made me think of your fortress. Like, no,
Yeah.
you're not going to
You're not
invade this
coming
space. I'm not coming in. I'm not
in.
allowing it because we allow it. We
Right.
say, like my husband will always say, well, let just who cares about that? Or let it just roll off your back. I'm like, men are so good at that. I'm generalizing here, but they really are just like, oh, that's that. Who cares? And we're like, well, it's like, no, why do I care? Why aren't I just letting it roll off my back? Why aren't I putting on that armor and saying it's not getting in through to me? It's like we need all these tools early on so that we
Yeah.
can just be healthier and just better to go out and conquer the world. All of those things that you're
Yeah.
talking about help you do it. And we're
Yeah.
just not taught it early enough. And then
We're
then
not.
we have these health scares that we didn't even have to have had we been doing all this stuff earlier. So I'm so glad
Right.
you're teaching that to
Right.
other people. It's so important.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
part of that, part of my healing and wellness is having my friends, and understanding who rejuvenates me, but that
Yes.
who is toxic that I need to keep at an arm's distance
Yes.
length. So
Yes.
my friends, prayer, of course, so my faith has a huge role in everything I do. It's my guiding light, it's what makes me me. That's what is helping me understand my purpose.
That's
And
awesome.
so yeah, so those are definitely different components that I keep to stay happy.
Yeah.
This
Yeah. That's
is
good.
hard. This is hard work. I'm not even
When,
gonna lie. And there are
yeah.
times where I'm questioning myself, like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't understand anymore,
Yeah.
and that's where my friends, my board members, they're
Yeah.
like, okay, Syda, stay focused. Like, this
Yeah.
is what we're focused on. This is what you have to do. And so I keep the people around me that are honest, and
Yeah.
like, you messed up on that. This, try this
Yeah.
next time, or you
Yeah.
have to do this. And so yeah,
Yeah, you have good
it
people around you. That is so smart. It's one of the great strengths of a great leader is to have people around you that can help you stay focused and call out things that aren't helpful or remind you about what your intentions and all of that. So it's
yeah,
super smart. It's very smart. Is there
yeah.
anything you wish you learned earlier in your life or career? Like I know usually your journey is like you're exactly where you're supposed to be because of everything that happened. But is there anything you wish you'd be like, oh, that lesson? I finally got it. I wish I had known it at 21 or whatever.
Oh gosh, everything I wish I knew earlier. The financial end of nonprofit, I wish I knew this was even a choice, because when I grew up, I looking back, I was like, oh, I went to a under-resourced school. Like everything that I'm fighting for, I was like, oh, now I see
Yeah,
the path that I was on. And counselors didn't really help us understand what our options were for high school or college. I grew up in a place where people were trying to survive,
yeah,
just trying to get by day to day.
yeah,
And I was very fortunate that my whole mom side of the family, we all lived in the same building. So we had our own like little, this is we're together and life is good, but
yeah.
not realizing the fuller picture of how racism played into where we lived and
Mhm.
what school I went to. And, so I learned all that later in life, in my master's program. That's where I learned about redlining. And I was like, oh my God, and so I went home talking about redlining to my parents. And, that's where real estate agents would steer people, to live in certain places, based on, if they were Black or Latino, because
Yeah,
there were spaces that were preserved for white people. And so I talked to my parents about that. And my dad said, oh, that happened to us. He said, that's why we live in this house, because I wanted to live in Norwich, but the real estate agent said, no, that I would like it better over here.
oh my
And she wouldn't show me any houses in Norwich. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And,
God.
then understanding gentrification. And that's why my grandfather, after 40 years, had to sell his building where all of us lived. And so it was in my adult years that I understood the injustices and how society played out. So I wish I knew this growing up as a student, as a second grader, because
Right,
that would give me the tools to navigate, like, oh, this person doesn't have my good intentions in mind.
right. Best
you
interest,
know
yeah.
this is how I need to code switch and deal with that person.
Yeah.
This is, so if I had those tools growing up, I wouldn't have internalized that I'm not good enough.
Right.
I'm the dumb one. I don't understand. I wouldn't have carried that with me.
Yeah.
It was in my adult years where I was like, oh my God, it's not me. It's the system,
Yeah.
and so that's why I just started getting so loud about it. Everything I learned, I'm like, everybody needs to know this. Everybody needs to know what I just learned. So it's not that I'm a content expert. It's that I feel like I was awoken. I
was just
woke
thinking
up.
that you're waking people and you want to wake other people up.
And I just like, look, this is what you're feeling, and this is why. Because before I couldn't articulate it, I just felt like I was always the wrong one in class. Like I didn't have enough knowledge. I wasn't smart enough. That's not the case at all, and that's how everyone feels. And so when I talk to parents or, people that are just living life, they're just like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. You can do it. And so it's just, I just want to share my journey and what I learned so that people can get to a place of liberation and hopefulness, because you don't feel that. You don't feel that as a person of color growing up in America. And it's unjust. It deprives everyone, right? Like if our children were given the education, we could probably have the cure for cancer. We can have all these things, all these benefits. If there was equality between men and women, like if there are all these things in place, then all of us could thrive. All of us would be happy. It's not like we're switching, like, okay, you're not going to be happy now so that these people can be happy. No, all of us want to be happy.
And so it would be a better world.
It would be a better world.
Everyone thriving would just be a more thriving planet and a more thriving everything. Yeah.
Right.
I'm so glad you're doing this work, because obviously it needs to be done. And there are people that are passionate about it, and there are people that just complain about it, and there are people that are passionate and want to do something about it. So that's what we need. We need more of it. And that's why I have my podcast, so that other people like you and me in our 20s or in second grade can see, there's someone who kind of looks like me. There's someone there's someone who grew up where I grew up or whatever. You need examples of it. I think Oprah used to say this a lot, like, you can't see someone being it, then you don't think you can do it. And that's why all of this is so important. So thank you for all the work you're doing, and I love it. And I knew that I was going to be excited for you, and I'm glad we met, and I'm glad that you're doing this work and that you're getting more people involved in it so that everyone can be thriving. It's all about, you said, liberation and hopefulness. Like that's what it's about. You want to be able to show people that hope and see be able to see what's possible, and that you have a choice and you can do it. Yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome work. Thank you so much. Is there anything new that or like that's sticking out that you were going to take away from our conversation today that just popped into your mind or that you were reminded of today?
Just, I mean, just hearing you and doing this podcast and then what you're reflecting in me, what really stands out from our conversation is believing in yourself, and fighting off those voices, fighting off the systems, everything that's trying to keep you down. Identify it, and then chip away at it until it's gone. Because we really have to uncover, if we think of ourselves as gems in a mine, that you have to kind of chip away at the coal. Just what is the coal around the gem, like just chip away at it so that you can shine and figure out like what those tools are that you need to chip away at it. Because all of us are created noble. All of us are equally important in the sight of God. All of us, every person on this planet. And so until we get to that place, until the systems can recognize that, we have to do that for each other. We have to do that for ourselves. And so whatever people need to do to carve out their fortress and keep them going, just do it. And when we do that, have the rest of humanity in mind. Because what I'm seeing a lot is that, people that are in this space of social justice, we become siloed and divided, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's just for the Latino community, or it's just for the Black community, it's just for the, no, it's for, like, when you have your foot is in the front, just know you are paving the path for everyone else. So have that in mind, and be open, because it's for all of humanity. And so yeah, so that's my takeaway from this. And everyone has a different role, right? Like, your role is different from mine, which is different from someone else, and we can't bash each other for their role. Their role is their role, and it's important. It's a connecting dot. And what I'm seeing a lot is, oh, they say they're doing this, but they're not doing this, and they're not doing that.
Right. Oh, well, they're doing more than you are, which is why they're doing one more thing than you are. Yeah, I know. I know.
Be hopeful for people, and so I'm grateful for your path, and for you, like, really going for it, and shining a light on others. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It was so great to talk to you. And I can't wait to tell people more about your work. And so if what's your website? They want to see more about your work. What's the easiest way to get hold of you?
Yeah, organiconeness.org is our website, and then our handles on LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is at Organic Oneness. And they could follow us, sign up for our newsletter. We have programs year round. We have our Chicago Race Ride of 1919 annual bike ride in June, and in July. We have our Be the Healing conference. We have our King Day of Service coming up in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and a whole bunch of stuff in between, from movie nights to other bike rides, all with the common theme of racial justice and environmental justice.
Awesome. Well, keep doing all the good work you're doing. And I love that you are also concentrating on being healing and being well too, because you can't do any of it if you're not. So I'm glad you're healthy, and I'm glad that that's a big part of it, because you need to do it for yourself, and then you need to teach other people how important it is. So thank you for everything you're doing, and it was a pleasure to talk to you.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. I hope you loved this episode. Don't forget to like us, subscribe, review, and share it. I hope you were truly inspired. And for a little more inspiration, don't forget to pick up my book, Peace, Possibilities, and Perspective: 8 Secrets to Serenity and Satisfaction in Your Life and Career. I can't wait to get you love in your life.